Episode 4, Road to Cyclocross Nationals, takes us to Rock Hill, South Carolina for NCCX number 6. And good news, Nino's getting better, but he's still not 100%. At the last video, I told you we were hoping for about 90%, and that's probably what we got. He had taken care of himself all week long, and the whole head cold with a little bit of chest congestion was starting to clear up, but he still wasn't quite the Nino that we're used to seeing. But good news, well into the next week after the Rock Hill race, he is looking good, had some good practice rides around the house, and is looking like he's going to be strong for the upcoming NCCX races in Davidson and Midland. But here we are in Rock Hill, South Carolina on the start line, and our buddy Sam Edwards was unable to make it to this race, but none other than the Mr. Hutch Griffith, the national champion for mountain biking in the 10 and under, was on the course. He's a local from this area. He wanted to come out and give cyclocross a shot. So Nino and Hutch know each other real well, but today was just not a good day for Nino. He just didn't have the power that he typically has with the chest cold, head cold. But he was lined up nonetheless. Glad to see Hutch there, along with all the other juniors. It was a slightly smaller field than we'd had most of the year, I guess due to the distance away from all the other kind of NCCX races much further south. But regardless, we had a good junior turnout, and good to see old Annan Frederick on the line. Boy, this kid is getting faster by the week. His dad told me that his goal is to beat Nino, and Nino is excited about having a good buddy. Him and Annan are big friends, and they're on the start line cheesing it up and playing before the race and after the race, and that's what it's all about, making friends and making memories. But you can see him lining up here, and the official says go. And Nino had a little bit of a rough start. It was a slight uphill for about 5 feet, and then it was downhill, but for whatever reason, he could just not get going. But he makes up to it in the first turn, turns around and starts chasing, but he had Annan in front of him, between him and Hutch, and Annan was going pretty fast, but Nino just could not muster up the power to get around Annan for a while. And as a result of that, Hutch was able to get a gap and just hit it. And we knew going into this race, Hutch is one of the fastest kids, if not the fastest kid in the nation for his age. And if you don't stick with him right off the beginning, there's absolutely no hope. But regardless, Nino was trying hard, doing everything right. Eventually makes the pass around Annan, you'll see. And I'll navigate some of the parts of the course for you, some of the highlights of the race, and then we're going to just fast forward through a few things after Nino kind of finds his groove here after some of the racing is done. But that's still a ways ahead, so check it out and let's see where Nino ends up as he continues to chase Annan and the other Velocious Sport kid who's new to the race series. Glad to see him out here. I can't remember his name, but he's been riding very strong, and Nino's chasing old Hutch. See Nino coming through here. He's already made the pass on Annan and got in front of the other Velocious junior. He's getting ready for the stairs. It's kind of an interesting stair system. It's typically something that you could, jump up over and keep going, but the distance between the two stairs was intentionally done at the perfect distance to make it difficult for you to be able to do it unless you have the proper technique. And so in the pre-ride, Nino and practice running, and one thing about all the practices, he's getting a whole lot stronger with getting his bike up and over the obstacles, and then he's getting very efficient with jumping back on. You'll see here in just a second. After that, he goes through this little garden section. We saw the guy the day before out there with a tiller tilling up the dirt, but all that work was for nothing because all the pre-riding packed it right back in, looked like a single track mountain bike trail. But kudos to the man for his efforts. Had it rained, it would have been pretty epic for sure in that section. But you see Nino coming through here, and this is the lowest part of the course, and throughout the day this I'm sure caused problems for a lot of people, but watch closely. You saw at the highlight at the beginning of the race video Nino's crash, and here it's about to come up in just a second. And in my race I noticed that this was going to be extraordinarily slick, and I didn't know that Nino had crashed here. And then oddly enough, his mother, trying to make a pass to get second place in her race, crashed in this exact same spot. So I have a feeling it captured a whole lot of people's day in this particular turn where Nino has an issue. But kudos to the little guy. He falls down. You'll see him struggling to get his foot unclipped because he is on his side, but eventually fights through, ends up getting passed by the Velocious rider, and Ann and Frederick caught right back up to him, but Nino pushes to the top of the hill, remounts on his bicycle, and begins the chase yet again to catch the Velocious rider to secure the current second place in the race. And at the time, I did not know that he crashed, and I was wondering how he went from in front to behind, but this explained it all once I got to see the video. Apologies for the sand on the lens, but now you know why that happened. And Nino was a little bit worried about his camera, but thanks to our teammate Delane Heath, he told him, just do not worry about that right now. We'll fix that later. Keep racing. And you'll see the determination and the effort. Nino starts to claw his way back into the race. All right, so Nino's made it to the top of the major climb. Call it that in a cross race, but it was one of the longer climbs of the season so far. And now he can see the Velocious Jr. in sight, and he's motivated, a little bit frustrated from wrecking and having to chase back again. Legs burning a little bit after that climb, but he's got him in sight and target activated, and he's ready to start making his way back into the race. And I love seeing the determination on his face. You can hear him grunting and really truly giving it everything he had for this section of this race. And one thing about Nino is he always, one of the things we're actually trying to work with him about is not always having matches to burn, but instead, burning them throughout the race. But right now, he always has a little rabbit in the hat, and he can always pull out a match when he needs to. And, that's one of the reasons why he's not winning a lot of races. If he would start using these matches from the beginning of the race all the way to the end, instead of just picking when he chooses to use them, he would go a lot faster throughout the entire race. Easier said than done. When you're 8 years old, you just got to learn these lessons on your own. But that's one of the things we're working with, is trying to get him to go hard from the beginning of the race to the end. I guess where we do a bunch of long rides throughout the year, he always holds a little back, so he makes sure that he doesn't run out of energy, at least what he says. And as a result of that, he's kind of conditioned in some of these mountain bike races and cross races to just never really give it his all. But that's one of the things he says he's going to start working on in the future. So let's look to see in the future episodes if Nino starts to kind of empty the tank on these short races and really give it his all. Hope that he does, because if he does, I hate to see how many other kids he's going to end up catching. But right now, at least in this section, he is pushing hard because he sees the junior in sight, and he is determined to catch up, make the pass, and get back in second place. As you're watching him ride right now, I'm sure what I was just saying is starting to be obvious on video. Nino has another gear, and it's just something that kids his age just don't have, and that's truly what makes him a special rider to be his age. He's digging deep, and it's really so enjoyable to watch him ride, regardless of what level you are. If you're watching this video, you've got to appreciate it, the ability to ride this speed at 8 years old. You don't always see it. We got to see it in the first race in Gibsonville when he was racing Sam Edwards from Velocious Sport, and he rode this way the entire race because he had a carrot in front of him. But a lot of times in these races, you end up in that no man's land, and you kind of just lose motivation. And at 8 years old, you just do not have the metric data that older people have, such as power, heart rate, even time. He's doing some complex math in school, but he can't really figure out what his lap time should be to try to maintain a speed. So if he doesn't have that rabbit to chase or the carrot in front of him, he tends to drift off into just Nino lands, what we call it. And he'll be humming and singing and talking to himself instead of racing hard. But Lord help you, you put a carrot in front of him, and he puts it into, the sixth gear, and that's what he's doing now. And so he's got the junior rider in sight, and you can just see it's almost double the speed that he was going when he was by himself to what he is doing now. And, the gap just keeps getting more narrow and narrow. Eventually, he catches right up to him and just looks to make the pass, when is appropriate to him. Nino's smart enough sometimes to ride the wheel a little bit, recover, and then look for the most optimistic time to make the pass. But in this case, unfortunate circumstances happened. The same terrible spot that caused Nino to crash, as I said, seemed to catch a lot of people that day. It ends up sneaking up on one of the riders coming up. Just keep watching and you'll see some more action here in just a second. So while we got a second before this race really heats up again, talk about where we're going to be next. Next weekend for NCCX number 7 and number 8, we're going to be in Davidson, North Carolina on Saturday, and then on Sunday at Midland, North Carolina. I believe they're about 45 minutes apart from each other, just a little bit north of Charlotte. So we'll be traveling down there, following NCCX yet again, and that'll be episode number 5, highlighting those 2 races. And hopefully by then, Nino will be right at 100% after his little chest head cold, and have a good couple races, and getting a little bit closer, just a hair over a month before the national championship in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We've hit 500 subscribers, so thank you all for your support. Little 8-year-old's channel with 500 subscribers. Man, that's hard to believe, and we really appreciate you watching. And again, it's amazing the impact that it's had, and getting to talk to some of the people at the races and at various bike events that we've been to, whether it's races or rides or social gatherings, and the people that come up and say something to Nino about his videos. One thing we have noticed is 75% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribers. So please do us a favor. Hit subscribe. It's free. You don't have to know much about YouTube. I'll tell you about it. Subscribing is free. Yeah, you get a commercial here or there if you don't pay their $10 a month for a membership. You don't have to pay the membership. Ignore the commercials. Probably going to sell you a product that you've been searching anyways. You know how that works with ads anymore. So, but hit subscribe for Nino. Hit like and share the video if you like it, because I guarantee you there's some kid, some junior out there that could end up watching this video and causing them to get motivated to come out here and give racing a try. And that's what we're trying to do. So we appreciate all your support. We're at 500, but we're looking to get over 1,000 by this time next year. So help us out. 75% of the people watching, that's probably, odds are it's you, are not subscribers. Do us a favor and hit subscribe. We really appreciate it. Well, now Nino's off the front and he's sitting in second place. Hutch left off the start line, and within 30 seconds he had a pretty substantial gap because Nino got held up in some traffic and just really never got to use Hutch as kind of a pace car. So Hutch is off the front. Congratulations to him for having an outstanding first cyclocross race. Hutch is a talented rider, and we definitely knew going into this, Hutch was going to have a good day. It's just when he's on a bicycle, he's fast. But, he's a couple years older than Nino, and Nino's day will come. Remember, 8-year-old Nino is racing in the 11-12 division and doing phenomenally well this season. Had pretty much all second places, a couple thirds, and 1 fourth last week when he was very sick on Sunday. But all things considered, to be his age, racing kids that are 3 or 4 years older than him, he's having a phenomenal year, and you can see the skills getting sharpened each race, and that's what I'm proud of here. And some of the things we're going to highlight before this video ends is Nino going across the barriers and going down some of the technical areas. And then I show here in just a little bit, Nino goes back to that exact same curve that he crashed in, and the same curve that you just saw the Velocious Jr. crash in. And he goes into it, and he learned his lesson from his first crash and from seeing the young rider crash in front of him. And he starts talking to himself about control, 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 now go. And it was really awesome to watch him kind of talking to himself and walking himself through navigating that curve safely to where he was not going to have any issues with his bike or the race. And I was really proud of him. That's a mature action at 8 years old, to be making sure that you're doing all the right things and not taking unnecessary risk. He knew first place most likely was gone, and he needed to secure second, and he did all the right things. And if you can see, these barriers here in this particular race are about maximum height. And that's awesome for the pros. And congratulations to the race organizers for making awesome barriers for the pros. Unfortunately, they're basically walls for the juniors. And I really liked Hendersonville last year where they had the alternate junior barriers for when the barriers are this tall, because this is like, you know. Well, now Nino's off the front and he's sitting in second place. Hutch left off the start line, and within 30 seconds he had a pretty substantial gap because Nino got held up in some traffic and just really never got to use Hutch as kind of a pace car. So Hutch is off the front. Congratulations to him for having an outstanding first cyclocross race. Hutch is a talented rider, and we definitely knew going into this, Hutch was going to have a good day. It's just when he's on a bicycle, he's fast. But he's a couple years older than Nino, and Nino's day will come. Remember, 8-year-old Nino is racing in the 11-12 division and doing phenomenally well this season. Had pretty much all second places, a couple thirds, and 1 fourth last week when he was very sick on Sunday. But all things considered, to be his age, racing kids that are 3 or 4 years older than him, he's having a phenomenal year, and you can see the skills getting sharpened each race, and that's what I'm proud of here. And some of the things we're going to highlight before this video ends is Nino going across the barriers and going down some of the technical areas. And then I show here in just a little bit, Nino goes back to that exact same curve that he crashed in, and the same curve that you just saw the Velocious Junior crash in. And he goes into it, and he learned his lesson from his first crash and from seeing the young rider crash in front of him. And he starts talking to himself about control, 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 now go. And it was really awesome to watch him kind of talking to himself and walking himself through navigating that curve safely to where he was not going to have any issues with his bike or the race. And I was really proud of him. That's a mature action at 8 years old, to be making sure that you're doing all the right things and not taking unnecessary risk. He knew first place most likely was gone, and he needed to secure second, and he did all the right things. And if you can see, these barriers here in this particular race are about maximum height. And that's awesome for the pros. And congratulations to the race organizers for making awesome barriers for the pros. Unfortunately, they're basically walls for the juniors. And I really liked Hendersonville last year where they had the alternate junior barriers for when the barriers are this tall, because this is like, scaling a fence to these little kids. And I do really wish that they would have a shorter section of barriers, or at least an alternate line for the juniors that they could do. But I'm not complaining. It's just, I don't think they think about the little kids that are out here that are 9 and 10, 11, 12 years old, trying to navigate these barriers that are nearly half their height. And but if you've watched from last year's episodes to the early season this year to now, this was probably about the best Nino had ever done. And considering that the barriers are the highest ones of the year, I thought he did a phenomenal job. And he's able to remount his bike pretty effortlessly and get going, putting power out again. And so good job, little Nino, for overcoming a pretty substantial obstacle with these barriers. They were, like I said, one of the highest of the year, and so high that even some of the top pro riders were electing to not bunny hop these. I watched a few of them practice before the race started, and I saw 3 people flip over the bars in the attempt to hop these barriers. So everybody could make the first barrier, but their timing was just wrong for the second one, and it just became one of those things, more risk for the reward, and they weren't electing to do it. And that just kind of goes to show you that the height was a pretty substantial difficulty in this race here. So great job, Nino, for getting over these barriers as fast as you did. I'm very impressed with the improvement from Go Cross to now. Well, that's a wrap, episode 4. Thanks for watching. As usual, God bless, stay safe, and we'll see you on the trails next week. Davidson, Midland, North Carolina.